Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rich Life. I am so excited today to welcome the actress who plays Condola on HBO's Insecure and Marie on BET's Twenties. Her name is Christina Elmore. She is a friend of mine who you've actually seen on The Rich Life before.
Everything, like, I want to redo my wedding, but then have Richie come and do the tablescapes. This is stunning. It's stunning. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love it.
But today I wanted to invite her here not only to talk a little bit about the shows, but to also share with you how she is living her richest life off the screen. And I guarantee that you will be inspired too. Welcome, Christina, to the show, or welcome back, I should say, to the show, because this is not your first time on the
that's true.
Yes,
That is true.
yes.
Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. Thanks for coming. I'm so happy to have you here. This is an exciting time because tomorrow is the season finale of Insecure.
Yes.
Yes. There's a whole lot going on in the world right now, and we're going to touch on that. But top of mind for me right now is what's going to happen tomorrow.
Things are gonna happen. I am a small part of the show, but because I was on it a few times, I did get all of the episodes throughout the season. So I know what's gonna happen, but I can't say what's gonna happen. And maybe they changed it. Maybe in editing it's all different. I don't know. But it is a good episode. And this season has been so good. So
it has. It's been such an awesome season. So I'm going to go back. I know you can't exactly tell us what's going to happen, and that's okay, even if you kind of know. But what I'm curious about is, I know you were a fan of the show beforehand,
yes,
like
a big
everyone
fan.
else, right?
Yeah.
So is there ever a time when you are conflicted between how you feel as a fan and how you feel as a character on the show? Like,
yes.
Before you answer, let me just tell you this one thing, okay? Before I met you, we know each other through my sister Jade, right? Okay, for you guys who don't know that. So Jade was telling me about her friend Christina, who's playing this new character on Insecure. And I don't know if it registered at first, but then I liked you in the beginning on the show. This was before I met you. I liked you at the beginning of the show. I was like, oh, she's cool. She's doing all this great stuff. And then, something just turned when I found out that you were going on that date with Lauren. And I told Jade, I was like, I'm not going to like her. This is before I moved to LA, guys. I was like, I am not going to like her. I'm telling you right now. And then I met you and I loved you.
Well, thank you.
But
you liked me.
Yes. So, but what is that like for you, being a fan of the show and then also being a character now who's come on and become a disruptor, for lack of a better word?
It's tough because I, as a person who wants a job, I want all the best for Condola. I want Condola and Lawrence to be married forever and on every episode. But as like a fan of the show, I really do. I am team like Issa and Lawrence and bringing that back. And that episode a couple of weeks ago, where they went on the date and walked through the art, it was just seeing that kind of Black love and joy, especially because of everything that's going on right now, was just the best. And so every time Condola would text, I'd be like, stop texting, stop interrupting their love. So sometimes I'm not team Condola. Listen, I love her. I think she's great, and I love that she's always the adult in the room, but I really am happy to see them rekindling.
Yeah, that's so funny. So what is that like for you when people look at you not as Christina? Because now, like, it's so funny for me to see you on not only Insecure but on Twenties too. I totally binged watched that, and I love the show. I didn't catch it. Yeah, it's a great show. I didn't catch it during the season, but I binged watched, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I know her, but like, it's so cool to see you playing these different roles. But what is it like when people actually look at you not as Christina, but like Condola, condolences?
Oh gosh. I have never been on a show or done work where there's such a deep fandom involved. And so I'm not used to it, nor I'm used to people separating the character from the Christina.
Yeah.
And it's just harder to do with Insecure. And I see why it does have such an interactive fan base. And I love that about the show.
Yeah.
But at the first couple episodes, I had to stop. I was like, oh, they're not talking about me, Christina. Get out of your feelings. Because some of these tweets were mean. I was like, they can come for Condola or condolences or credenza or conditioner or whatever you want to call her. But you know what? They don't come for me nearly as hard as they're coming for Molly this season. So,
oh, right. Yeah.
I can't be mad.
Right. Yeah. At least you're not Molly. Let's put it like that.
Molly. No, but it is very weird. Because I get like now DMs to Condola, not to me. They're talking to Condola. They're like, why you gonna mess up Issa and Lawrence's love? You see they finally happy. Girl, I am Christina. I don't know Condola in real life. I can't tell you when to call her. But it's sweet. It's nice that fans care so much about the show.
Yeah. I love that for you. And I love that you have the starring role on 20s, back to that. Like, what was it like for you this season to turn on the TV and twice a week? Well, actually, I don't know how much they overlapped, but
they overlapped like maybe 3 weeks. And on, like three weeks, I think they overlapped. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was awesome because too, they're both created by Black female powerhouse women who are making their voices heard in Hollywood and also bringing other Black women with them and telling stories of Black women. And so like, it didn't feel like just being on any two shows. It felt really important. And I was really grateful because it's the kind of work I really enjoy consuming. And so to be able to make it, because I've worked on things, that I would not be, that I think were good, they're fine, but they were never going to be shows that I would have been drawn to as a fan. And so I was grateful for the work and I thought it was fine. But this is like shows that I would watch. 20s didn't exist before I was on it, but like I would have totally watched every episode. And Insecure, I already did watch every episode. So it felt really special to get like sort of a double blessing in that this year.
I'm sure. So I actually crowdsourced a bunch of questions and that I'm going to ask you those probably at the end. But I do remember one question someone asked me about the difference between working on sets like Insecure and 20s, where they're led by Black women and there's, Black cast and Black creatives just all over. The difference between your experience working in places like that versus working in places where you are very much in the minority. What does that feel like for you?
It felt so freeing. It felt, I've always felt welcome on a lot of sets. I've been very lucky in that way, in that I haven't felt completely ostracized, but I didn't know what it could feel like to for all of the notes and all of the, so many of the executives and the producers, for them to be Black and Black women. It blows my mind to be in those kinds of rooms, and it's so collaborative, and it's so there's a lingo, there's a familiarity that I just didn't know I was missing. Wow. And then the content of the show, the content of both shows, also feels familiar in a way that, yes, I'm acting, I'm working, I'm using my craft and all that, but I feel like I already have an in on it. I already know this world a little bit, which makes it easier, but also just more fun to tell stories of people who are like me. Yeah.
That's just so great. I love seeing that. So now I want to ask you a question about how it all started, because, we see people like Beyonce and goodness knows she's Beyonce now, but she wasn't always Beyonce. Beyonce was not built in a day, right?
Yeah.
So what was your experience? How did you get here? I do know that your breakout role was Fruitvale Station, right? Would you consider that your breakout? Or
no, I think,
okay.
I mean, it was certainly my first time doing any film or TV, but I was in it for like 2.5 minutes. It was great. I was so grateful for it. I learned a lot in those like 3 days I shot. Okay. And it was a nice primer for me on what it means to work on a set, because I came from theater school. I was literally graduated from American Conservatory Theater for my MFA in acting, but totally theater, and did this like a week after graduation. And so I had never been on a set, had never been in front of cameras, didn't know what a DP was or a grip or best boy. I didn't know any of the lingo. So it was just a nice introduction. And it was great because it happened right before I left the Bay Area, which is where my grad school was, and moved back down to LA. And so I consider it certainly a launching pad just in terms of learning how to do that work. But I don't think it had led to any jobs or changed my life in any way, except for I was super grateful to be part of something that I think is really meaningful to our culture, and especially right now. It just seems like we need to all go back and watch that movie. But I think the next job I got, and like sort of the longest running job I've ever had, it was The Last Ship on TNT. And that was 2 months after graduating. We did the pilot for that, and I didn't expect at all to be a series regular on a show when I got to LA. And it was my first series regular audition, and then I booked it and I didn't know what to do. And then there was a year we did it. I didn't know how to act on TV or what it felt like everybody was whispering. I was like, why aren't we projecting? I was so used to the theater.
Right.
But then that led to 6 years of my life. So, and it was a blessing, and I'm super grateful for that show. But it wasn't, I was on it every week, but my role was definitely supportive. And I said a lot of the same things episode after episode and week after week, and delivered a lot of messages to captains and whatnot. So when it was over, it feels like I'm entering sort of a second phase of my career. That was one long phase. That was great. But it was a lot of the same, and telling a story that is much different from the stories I'm telling now. So,
right. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. So then that brings me to another question. I said I would save these questions for the end, but a couple I do remember that I want to insert as they're relevant. So one question I had, let me just pull it up to make sure I got it exactly right, because I don't want to get this one wrong. What really happened with her, meaning you,
that's me,
during your time at Harvard that motivated you to become an actress? Was attending Harvard for you or for your parents?
Oh, for me.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be an actor before I went to Harvard. I knew that in high school that I wanted to be an actor. And I didn't know whether that would mean a bunch of regional theater or whether that would mean acting in film and TV. I didn't know what it would look like, but I knew it was going to be actor. And I also knew, though, that I didn't want to go straight to conservatory or do a program like Juilliard where you go straight after high school. I wanted to have, I was really interested in a lot of other things too. And I wanted to explore those in college and go to a liberal arts school. And so while I was there, I did a lot of acting, and it was my secondary, but it wasn't my major. I studied African-American studies and then also did a bunch of theater, knowing that I wanted to go to grad school for acting. So I kind of had this little plan, and I'm a planner, so I just stuck with my little plan. So Harvard was great in that I met my best friends. I learned so much more about the craft of acting, but I also studied so much more about the world and learned things that I think that inform my acting. But no, I didn't go for my parents. I know it seems like a strange path, but I knew that what I was doing, I guess. I tried.
But you had your plan, and you're living it now. I do want to tell you, I did a little bit of research. It's so funny researching someone you already know, like, oh, let me see what else I can find out that I don't know about her. And I found out a lot of cool stuff. One, I did not know that we have in common this, obsession is probably not the correct word here, but the importance of manifesting your dreams and really speaking them into existence, having that in common, and of course, leaning on our faith. So I want you to tell everybody the story about how you went from The Last Ship to Insecure. What was your conversation like with Ryan? Who's her husband?
Ryan, my husband. So I love that you say that, but because before this, and even now, I have trouble with the whole idea of manifesting. I'm still I certainly believe that I try to be prayerful about what I want, but I also still have a lot of fear and anxiety in my life, especially because I'm a planner, and I'm in the kind of career where you can't plan anymore. Yeah. So after I did all my little steps of college, then grad school, then moved back to LA, my plans no longer matter because I don't get to cast myself in things. But after The Last Ship, my husband asked me, he said, so what do you want to do next? And I said, well, I'll do whatever I get cast in. I don't know what I want to do. Like, I don't have that luxury. I still audition for all of my jobs. I'm not offer only. And he was like, no, Tina, come on. Like, what if you could decide, what would you want to do and why? And I was like, well, I would really love to work on a half-hour comedy on cable about Black women with Black women. And he was like, okay. And I was like, but you know, I'll probably end up on something, being somebody's white girl's best friend. It's fine. And so I left it, and I was like, great. And so then a few months later, when the last ship ended, and I had an audition for Insecure, and I thought it was just to do these 2 episodes at the end of season 3, and I was like, Lord, you really, am I your favorite? Because you answered, like, this is a half-hour comedy with Black women about Black women. And I was like, thank you. These 2 episodes, that's what I wanted. Thank you so much. You heard me. And then a few months later, I auditioned for Twenties, and it is exactly, and that became a series regular role of a half-hour comedy about Black women on cable with Black women. And I was like, okay, Lord, my bad for ever questioning you. I will just let you know what I want and need and be prayerful about it every time. Instead of being timid and being like, oh, I'll just take what comes. And I will take what comes. But also, I think our God is so great that he also says, no, I can tailor make something for you. Yeah. And so then to come back to Insecure this season has just been like, all right, this is too much.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you were very specific. So I think that should be a lesson, be some inspiration to someone out there. Be specific with what you ask for. And then when you get it, be ready.
Be ready. Be ready. Yeah, be ready. And be grateful, but be ready.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to also mention something else that I found out about you, about something you wrote to yourself in 5th grade.
Oh,
do you remember that?
I mean, I wrote a lot of things. I wrote also, there's some fireworks in my neighborhood, so that's probably what you hear. It's not July 4th or anywhere close, but you know.
But it's LA. It's all good.
It's LA. Let's get the party started. So yeah, in 5th grade, my dearest Mr. Oshman was my teacher, and he had all of us 5th graders write a letter to our 18-year-old selves. And he saved the letters and then mailed them to us upon our high school graduation. And he found us all over. He mailed the letter to my grandma in Louisville, who sent it to me. Because like he knew I didn't live in LA anymore. Anyway, it was crazy. Yeah. And I said in that letter, I said, Christina, I want you to go to Harvard or Juilliard. And I want, and it also said, like, who's your greatest inspirations? And I was like, Felicia Rashad. And so to then go to Harvard, and then I wanted to be an actor. And I didn't even know, up until I got that letter back, I didn't remember that in 5th grade I knew this already. I thought that I didn't decide to be an actor until high school. I didn't even remember that I knew.
Wow.
And so to get that letter was so amazing. And then I literally got it as I was headed to Harvard in the next month. And then now, Felicia Rashad still means so much to me. And to be playing a character named after her daughter and in honor of her, like the character's literally named Condola because the showrunner on Insecure, Prentice Penny, he talked about how when he was leveling up in his life, he was no longer wanting to just date anyone. He wanted to find his Claire Huxtable. And he was like, I feel like this season, Lawrence is trying to find his Claire Huxtable. And so they named the character after her daughter, Condola. And so I was like, oh, that feels so full circle. But that little letter is just, I was like, I need to keep speaking to myself because I'm speaking something.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that all the time.
Yes, remember that. And so now this brings me to another question that's very relevant to what we just talked about. You're going to get a kick out of this. Let me see. This is a question I did clarify before once I got this question, but I thought I would just share with you because it's hilarious. What is it like growing up with Felicia Rashad, aka Claire Huxtable, as a mom? So someone actually, how about that for a full circle? Someone thought that you were actually the real Condola Rashad, right?
That is beautiful because Condola Rashad is a queen and a fabulous, fantastic actor, and I stan. But no, I don't know what it's like. We're gonna have to call Condola Rashad because I don't know, but I'm sure it was fantastic.
Yes, I love that. And I was like, I'm going to say this and I'm going to ask you. And so we laughed about it. This is one of my Facebook friends.
I love that. I love that. I was like, well, I'm sure she's great. I know she's great. I'm sure she's a wonderful mother too.
Yeah. Speaking of being wonderful mothers, so we've been talking about your career as an actor. I have to remind myself to say actor. I've often said actress, but actor.
I say actor, but I'm also okay with actress. I'm not offended by it, or I don't think it's demeaning.
Okay. So you are juggling multiple roles, not only literal roles on TV, but you're also a mom. But what is it like juggling the roles you have as an actor and being a mom?
It's a lot, but it's also been such a blessing. So it's a lot in that I don't know when I'm going to work and my schedule is crazy and erratic, but also what's the blessing is that I have so much time too, when I'm not working, to be home with him. And so I work on an average year, maybe 6 to 8 months out of the year. And then those other 4 to 6 months I'm home, and mostly like full-time mom in it, and going to auditions. So it's tough when I'm working because I have 4 a.m. calls and, don't get home until 1 a.m. But thankfully my husband's work is flexible. He has a shoe company that so he's his own boss. And so he's able to be flexible. And then the help of wonderful babysitters like Chanda, who you know.
Hey, Chanda.
Hey, Chanda, we love you so much. And just in a community and village, and even Jade and your mom. We've been able to make it work. And so it's been sort of the best of both worlds and the worst of both worlds. But I wouldn't have it another way. So I feel really, really lucky in that I'm able to spend so much time with him. And then I feel really, really sad when I don't get to see him for long stretches. So.
Right. I know that must be hard.
Yeah.
So when you do have those difficult times, what would you say keeps you grounded? Things that we wouldn't know necessarily from what we can grab on Wikipedia or.
Well, I hope you know Jesus, because that is honestly and truly, I mean, I think about this a lot, and I think about people who don't have faith, and just think that this life is theirs to do on their own, and that just seems so much harder. So I'm just so grateful to know God, and so grateful to know that I don't have to be a superhero, and I don't have to get it all right or accomplish it all, because he's doing the lion's share of it anyway, and I can lean on him and find refuge in him. So that is number one. And then also, I just have amazing parents. I really do. I talk to my parents every single day, and they live in South Africa, and I talk to my parents every day.
I didn't know that. I knew that they lived in South Africa, of course, but I did not know that you talked to them.
I talk to them every single day. Well, I mean, they call for Silas, but I get to talk to them a little bit too. But I talk to my parents every day. And so I have just and my husband is fantastic. So I don't have like a secret sauce, but somehow a mixture of just really supportive family and just a God who's bigger than it all is the way I make it through. And sometimes like kombucha and tea. Latte here and there.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever told you how much this meant to me, but I'm going to tell you now and tell everybody. And I don't even know if you remember this, but we were leaving church and Riley was starting camp at the Debbie Allen Dance Academy the next day. And as you know, Debbie Allen is Felicia Rashad's sister.
Yeah.
So, another
so much
moment, right? And I grabbed you and I was like, Riley, I want you to talk to Miss Christina about what she does when she's nervous, because I knew she was nervous. I mean, this is like it was a really intense, like 9 to 5 camp. And like, she'd never done that before. And they're dancing all day. And this is, Debbie Allen. So you talked to her and you encouraged her and you told her, when she was feeling anxious or nervous to look to God and ask him to help her. And I can't tell you how much that meant to me as a mom. And even I was like, okay, I'm soaking this all in, because I'm looking at you like, honestly, I don't know if I actually have it in me I think about that. Like, could I be an actor? Like, could I deal with, the potential of being being rejected every single time I go to an audition or like, every single thing being picked apart. I mean, it's hard enough, doing this.
I can imagine.
But that just meant so much to me. So I want to.
Oh, thank you.
You are so welcome. And
she was such a wonderful daughter.
Thank you. Thank you. She really took that to heart. By the end of the week, she won an award for like the best all around.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I was like, oh, you're fine.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And I know too, for you, that mentoring is so important.
Yeah. I feel like I've been really mentored in a lot of ways by people in informal ways. I don't think I've ever been like, this is my mentor, which I think those kind of relationships are fantastic. But I've been so loved and nurtured by so many of the women and men in my life. Mm-hmm. And I do just think that it's so important for me to continue that line. And because I think especially for girls and Black girls, we just can't get enough of being able to see and connect with women who are doing what we want to do and who are living the way we want to live. And there's no real blueprint, and we don't have a lot of like the institutions to support us in that. So we got to do it ourselves. So try.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there's a whole lot going on right now.
Yeah.
A whole lot. So let's talk about what's been going on in the past few weeks with the protest and with just everything. Do you feel like everything is just like coming out in the open now? Like stuff people were really afraid to talk about before? Like it's just the floodgates are open?
I think so. I do feel that way. It feels like I've still been trying to figure out like why is this the moment? And yes, George Floyd's killing was atrocious, and I still haven't even watched that video, but being on someone's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, that's just so clearly, blatantly wrong and evil. And so I think that's part of it, that there's really sometimes we can hear about these videos and I can't understand it. It boggles my mind, but there are people who can watch it and see something completely different and be like, well, he was a whatever they want to say. But with this one, it just seemed so clear because even the folks with the president could see that for a moment. But I also think that that in the middle of a pandemic where Black people are dying at much higher rates, where Black people are being sickened at much higher rates, where it's so clear. People, I think, at first were calling COVID sort of the great equalizer. No, it wasn't an equalizer. It was just a revealer. It just showed where our society, who mattered and who didn't, who was getting sick already and who wasn't, who was working jobs that were essential but totally disregarded and disrespected and who wasn't. And so I hope that it means that we're talking about things that we hadn't talked about before. And I hope that it means we continue to, even post-pandemic and post this revolution. Mm-hmm. I hope that a lot of that comes to fruition, but I'm also nervous and anxious about the fact that, I mean, we haven't been here before, but we've been close to here, and we've been on this continent for 400 years. So I don't know. I'm hopeful, and I'm also just a little bit jaded.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us are feeling the same way. It's just, I think for the first time for me, it's just been so public as, and that's, this is stuff that we've been dealing with forever, right? Yeah. We talk about amongst ourselves, but now it's like, people are talking. And so I think that that's a good thing. I'm hopeful as well, but, like you said, it's easy to still be hopeful and jaded at the same time. Yeah. So you mentioned the pandemic. Okay. I want to know what it's been like for you. One, like just a normal person being in a pandemic, with the toddler and, your spouse and everybody's at home. But then also add to that, what is it like for you to be an actor, and what are you thinking about in terms of going back to work? Because so I'm in DC, we have, a lot of government workers, right? So we have people who are going into regular office buildings, but what is it like for you as an actor thinking about, this was a question I got, thinking about going back to work, and you're in very close contact with people. What's that thought process like for you right now?
Yeah, It's a lot to think about. It's also, I mean, because just yesterday was the first day that the county had to go ahead to start shooting again. And I'm not sure anything started yesterday because I think our union, so many of the unions are still working out guidelines and what it'll look like to conform to the guidelines that the state and the counties have set.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me as a regular person, being in the stay-at-home life has been both the best and the worst. I mean, how great to spend so much time with my little one and my husband. Love them. But we also live in a not very large duplex. So we are just together. And that is beautiful and a lot. And Silas misses school. I miss him going to school.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot. But then the thinking about work and how that will look, it feels so up in the air. And I'm used to up in the air because that's the kind of career I've chosen. I don't know ever, even when you got a job on a hit show, you don't know if it's going to get picked up. You don't know what, so it already felt up in the air, and now it feels even more so. It feels like there's going to have to be so many protocols in place that it's going to be so much more expensive to make film and TV for the foreseeable future. And so I hope that shows come back. I know Insecure is coming back, so that's fantastic. And I hope that Twenties comes back, and I hope that so many of the shows I enjoy watching come back. But to sort of figure out how, I mean, you can do a lot of social distancing in terms of crew, but with the cast, it's just going to be so much harder, and it's going to mean writing differently. It's going to mean lighting differently. It's going to mean so many fewer crew members on sets and stages. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my heart really is with so many of my fellow theater actors, and that feels so impossibly far from coming back that feels pretty devastating, because I can see the path and like the light at the end of the tunnel for film and TV. And I know things will even start shooting next month, and they're going to be really weird. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be expensive, but I just can't even really see the light at the end of the tunnel for theater until there's a vaccine, or it's going to be outdoors. And I don't know. It's just hard to imagine.
So before I get to the questions, some more questions that people sent in, I want to maybe just do something fun. And I want you to tell people 3 things about you that they probably wouldn't know or guess. I'm going to start. Okay. So you have to do 3 in addition to the one that I'm
Lord. Okay.
So the last time I saw you in person was Christmas Eve. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
And I did not know that you had such a beautiful voice. We were at we were at my sister Jade's house, guys, and we were singing Christmas carols, and Christina just came out with Silent Night. Like, I mean, usually in those settings, you can kind of like, even if you can't sing like me, you can kind of like fake it through. And the whole room was silent because nobody could follow you. Everyone wanted to just hear your voice. And so I'm like, look at her.
I do like to sing.
I did not know that. So 3 things in addition to that people might not know about you.
Okay, let's see. I started knitting this year, and I've been knitting up a storm, especially during this lockdown. Like I even have like sitting next to me now. I'm knitting. So yeah, I've been knitting blankets and rompers for babies and all kinds of sweaters. So I knit. Let's see what else. I am the type of person who, during the day, I'm kind of a mess, and then every night I clean my house from top to bottom. I don't go to bed unless my kitchen is like swept and counters are clean. But during the day, if you came to my house, you'd be like, why do they live like this? Let's see. And one third thing, let's see. I'm silly. I talk to myself in the mirror, and Silas and I make plays, and we're very silly. So yeah, those are 3 things.
Oh, that's fun. Those are 3 really cool things that I actually did not know. So
well, now you know.
Now I know. So it gets cold here in the winter. So I could use a cute scarf. That's pretty easy to knit.
I will keep that in mind. Scarves are very easy.
Okay.
I will keep that in mind. Let me know your color palette.
Will do. Will do. Okay. So now we're going to get to some questions. Oh, I really like this one. How different or alike are you with your character Condola?
So we are very much alike, and I think we're both planners, and we both like to be sort of effective and get things done. We are not so similar in that, like, I don't think I would have ever been in a Lawrence Issa situation with the three of us. I would have been like, oh, okay, I get it. I'll help you plan this block party, and then I'm out of the whole thing. Like,
I don't see that you doing that either. Which
no, I've just been like,
yeah,
there's no reason I'm going to be in any of this drama. You guys, best of luck. And then I think that she's just a little sort of more established in her life and career. She just feels like she is fine. And I'm not always fine. I'm always like, well, what am I going to do next? And she seems just fine. And so I like her a lot. I have fun playing her because it didn't feel like it was too far of a stretch. But she has some qualities that I deeply admire and some that I'm like, girl, why?
Well, speaking of things we admire, let me tell you, as if you didn't already know, your hair and clothes were fierce.
Oh, thank you. I do wish I looked more like her. I wish I had a team of professionals at my own home. I don't have any hair anymore, but when I had hair, to just whip that thing into, because I don't have that at home. And those clothes, I don't have that budget at home either. Condola was fly. She was super fly.
But so here's the thing about you. I've seen you in so many different looks, and you always look good in every look. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you deserve it. I'm not being sweet. I'm being truthful. I don't know if a lot of people saw your really cute pixie cut, like that you had.
Oh, I know. It felt like
that was cute too.
Thank you. I didn't work with it at all. So
okay.
I cut my hair into like a pixie, like a relaxed pixie right after Insecure ended. But I don't think I didn't do any jobs with it. And then because of, being at home and not being able to go to my hairdresser, I just had to, with your very own brother-in-law's clippers, just let it go. And then I'm just going to let it grow back and get braids when that's allowed, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's happening on my head, but thank you.
But see, that's one of the things I love about you. You are so like, whatever, it's hair, it'll grow back. I've seen you through so many different styles, and that is great.
I just don't have the time. So like, this is my favorite, not in terms of the way it looks, but just like, I don't have to do anything. So
I love it. I love it too.
Thank you.
All right. So, this one is from my uncle who I used to hang out with when I was younger. Yeah. He was always like my young uncle, except now we're both like kind of oldish.
Please, you're nowhere near.
Do you need an older love interest?
I'm sure they're always looking for fresh new talent. I wish I had something to do with casting because that would just be so fun.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question about that. Okay. So I know your husband, obviously very cool guy. What is that like when you have to, and I hope I'm not getting too deep in this, but what is that like when you actually do have like other love interests, or not, I shouldn't say other, but in your job, you have these love interests. What is that like? I mean, is it ever a conversation like, hey, I'm about to do this role, da 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 da, or is it just kind of like,
it's so my husband, God bless him, I love him. He has left it to me to sort of make choices that I think are appropriate for myself and for our family. And so I had not done an intimate scene before Insecure. And I knew that would be a part of the job when I got it, but I didn't know how it would look. And I know that there are like varying levels of intimacy on that show. And as a fan of the show, I think that I was able to see some of the levels and decide, not that level for me. This level might work for me. And he has just trusted me to make those decisions. And he's actually been like, I'd rather not even be a part of it. So we don't discuss it. He's not seen the episodes that have those kind of scenes in it. But he also just trusts that I made decisions that were appropriate for me and our family.
Okay.
And so I try to. And then thankfully, Hollywood has a new, there's a new sort of person on sets called an intimacy coordinator, who helps. And this is all like just fresh this year, basically. And we had the same one for both Twenties and Insecure. And she, instead of me having to say to the director, well, this is what I'm comfortable with, and be in this sort of weird power dynamic where they're like, well, this is the story we want to tell. So what are you going to, you tell all of your boundaries, all of the things you're available to do and not available to do to this neutral person who then communicates that to producers and directors. And that's how the story is told. So I felt very comfortable and safe and respected on both sets. And my husband has just been like, I hope that you are also being safe and respecting me. And so, yeah.
Okay. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. Okay. So this is what I'm going to say for last. We kind of talked about this, but you didn't exactly tell us how. How did you get that role in Fruitvale Station? That was your first after graduating your
So let's see, how did I get that? The casting director, I think, came to like a play or showcase we had done at my grad school at ACT, and then just invited. So they were casting the small roles in the Bay Area. So that's where we were shooting, but they cast like the larger roles in LA, and then they were casting smaller roles in the Bay Area. And so that Bay Area casting director asked me and another classmate to come in for a role, and we did and auditioned. And I said no to it. Actually, I forgot about that. I said no to the role at first because I was I'm in the movie for like literally 3 minutes. And in those 3 minutes, like half of the minute was going to be spent kissing this woman who's going to be my girlfriend. And I was like, I just don't want it to be that I'm just over here just to be kissing a woman and for this male gaze. Like, I'm fine with, playing a lesbian, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's that I'm not fine with like just being here for these boys to watch on this train. And so Ryan Coogler actually called my cell phone. Like, he knew my cousin and he got my number and he was like, no, you got to do it because look, I'm telling this story. It's not about that. It's about like just having them have some joy before this thing happens. And I was like, and he's real like, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so then I did it. But I said, no, I forgot about that. I told the casting director, I was like, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
And so anyway, that's how it happened.
Okay. That's a cool story. All right. So I have, let's see. This is a little different, but kind of related to something we talked about. Are Black voices more respected and in positions of power or influence, or is the struggle still real, even in a so-called progressive Hollywood? Like, how, in your, I guess, experience, have you seen that Black voices do have power in a more progressive Hollywood? And he puts progressive in quotes. So I don't know. Do you have an answer to that?
I'd say that yes and no. So yes and yes. So yes, Black voices are becoming more respected. Sure. I think there are more Black content creators than we've seen. And so there are more Black people in the room, but also no, studio C-suites are filled with white people, white men. And you can go studio by studio and see maybe one token Black person who's actually making real decisions. And then 5% of directors of films last year were Black. Like, we're nowhere near where we should be. But yes, we are. There is progress. Sure. I also think that some of that progress has become so amplified where it looks like, oh no, but look, Issa Rae has a show. Look, Lena Waithe has several shows. Like, where we can see that. And I think that is, it's nice to be like, oh, look over there and don't look over here. Don't look at the fact that the real decision makers who are sitting in these boardrooms, no one's of color, and 95% of what's greenlit is not of color. But because we have a few really, well-received prestige shows that are helmed by Black people, it's like a nice diversion. So I think yes, more Black voices are being heard, and yes, Hollywood can pat themselves on the back for that. But no, absolutely not. We still have a long way to go.
Long way to go. A lot more work to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of a lot more work to do, I got this question a few times. What's next for you? Any upcoming projects that you can tell us about?
So I'm trying to think of what I can say. So no. I think too, things are up in the air. I think I would have been able to answer this more concretely were we not in a pandemic, and if I knew when things are shooting and things that were planned, if they're really going to go. So I'm guessing and hoping that 20s comes back, and that would be next. And I'm guessing and hoping that something else I've been asked to do happens. And then that's all I can say.
Okay. So you mean to tell me you're not opening up an Etsy shop and selling your yarn, your knitting creations?
I don't think I'm quite there yet. But listen, should things get tough, if things get rough and I don't hear back from any of these shows, listen, y'all gonna have to type in etsy.com/Christina Elmore knits.
Hey, listen, I am not knocking the hustle. I'm so happy that we got a chance to do this.
Yes, this was great.
Things are up in the air, but you have always been a person I've known to be grounded. And I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. With our
I don't know if I did that, but thank you.
Of course you did. Of course you did. I would not have invited you if you couldn't pour some sprinklings of wisdom and share how you're living your richest life. Remember, I put that in the email. I want you to share how you're living your richest life, because you are making us all so proud. For those of us who want to see what is next, what actually is next, because you were only able to give us just like a little bit.
I don't actually know what's next. That's the problem.
I know. So tell us how we can follow you. What's the best way?
Instagram. I have a Twitter account, but I'm never there. Instagram, but at Christina.Elmore.
Okay. Instagram at Christina.Elmore. So we are excited. I'm excited. So this is not actually going to air until after tomorrow's season finale.
Oh.
So I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see what's next for all parties involved.
I'm very excited too.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for coming on. For everyone who's watching this and you are not already subscribed to The Rich Life, make sure you subscribe so that you can keep up to date with all of the latest and maybe even see Christina again. Maybe. I don't know.
I hope so. I'd love to.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Until next time, take care, everybody.